The forest floor was cold beneath her cheek, damp with the evening dew that had long since surrendered to the biting chill of a late autumn night. Her breath, shallow and ragged, feathered against the decaying leaves. Above her, the pine needles created a whispering canopy, a conspiratorial murmur against the vast, indifferent sky. She tried to scream, but only a choked whimper escaped, a raw animal sound lost in the vast, empty expanse of the Connecticut woods. The last thing she saw, through a haze of pain and terror, was the glint of the moon on a dark, heavy object, descending with merciless finality. Then, silence. A profound, echoing silence that would haunt the town of Sterling for 4 decades, a chilling testament to a monster who had vanished as utterly as the victim he left behind. This was the brutal end of Emily Thorne, an aspiring artist barely out of high school, her dreams extinguished on a lonely dirt track just off Route 14. Her body, discovered by a bewildered hunter the following morning, lay nestled beneath the rustling pines,
Yeah, I see
a
footprints
scene of
coming in.
unspeakable violence. The small, close-knit community of Sterling was ripped apart, its sense of safety shattered. Emily was a local girl, known for her bright smile and sketchbook always in hand. Who could have done such a thing? And why? The initial investigation was swift but ultimately fruitless. Detectives swarmed the area, combing every inch of the forest, interviewing every resident, no matter how remote their connection to Emily. The evidence was painstakingly collected. Fingerprints lifted from her car door, tire tracks pressed into the soft earth, fibers clinging to her clothing, and crucially, biological samples from the crime scene. Back then, in 1983, DNA profiling was still in its infancy, a cutting-edge science only just beginning to revolutionize forensics. Even so, the investigators had a strong lead: semen found at the scene. It was meticulously preserved, a biological time capsule of the killer. Local troublemakers, disgruntled ex-boyfriends, even a transient passing through town, all were scrutinized. Sketches of a potential suspect based on a vague eyewitness account, someone saw a dark sedan speeding away from the area, were circulated. Every promising thread, however, eventually unraveled. The fingerprints didn't match anyone in the system. The tire tracks were too common. The fibers were inconclusive. The biological sample, while significant, yielded no matches when compared to the limited criminal databases available at the time. The killer, it seemed, was a ghost, leaving behind only the chilling echo of his brutality. Emily Thorne's case officially went cold, becoming one of Connecticut's most frustrating and tragic unsolved murders. For years, Emily's parents, Elizabeth and Arthur, clung to a fragile hope. Every new detective assigned to the case brought a flicker, quickly extinguished by the relentless march of time. Birthdays passed, holidays came and went, each marked by the gaping void Emily had left behind. The pine trees continued to whisper, but their secrets remained safe. Then, in 2005, a breakthrough seemed imminent. Advancements in DNA technology allowed for a more robust profile to be extracted from the preserved evidence. This advanced profile was uploaded to CODIS, Combined DNA Index System, the national database of DNA profiles from convicted offenders and unsolved crime scenes. The detectives held their breath. This was it, the moment they would finally put a name to the monster. But the screen remained stubbornly blank. No match. The DNA had not failed in its extraction or its purity. It had failed to find a match. The killer, it confirmed, had never been arrested or convicted for a crime serious enough to warrant his DNA being entered into CODIS. He was, effectively, invisible to the very technology designed to catch him. It was a crushing blow, an infuriating dead end that seemed to seal Emily's fate as just another cold case, forever shrouded in mystery. The lead detective on the case, Sergeant Mark Jensen, refused to give up. He had inherited Emily's file from his mentor, and her face, young and hopeful, haunted his thoughts. He knew the DNA held the answer. It just needed a new language to speak. For years, he kept the evidence secure, a silent prayer that science would one day catch up to the criminal's anonymity. That new language finally emerged in the late 2010s, investigative genetic genealogy. It was a technique that had already brought high-profile cold cases like the Golden State Killer to justice. The process was audacious, brilliant, and deeply controversial. It involved taking the killer's DNA profile and uploading it to public genealogical databases, the same ones millions of ordinary people use to trace their ancestry and find distant relatives. Instead of matching directly to the killer, the goal was to find family members, cousins, second cousins, even third cousins, who had voluntarily submitted their DNA. From there, genealogists would build out family trees, working backward and forward through generations to identify potential suspects. Sergeant Jensen, after years of advocating for this cutting-edge approach, finally got approval. The preserved DNA from Emily Thorne's cold case was sent to a specialized lab. The results came back, not as a single name, but as a complex web of family connections. Dozens of distant relatives were identified, individuals who had no idea their DNA held a piece of a violent, unsolved murder. Expert genealogists began the meticulous, painstaking work of constructing family trees, looking for the common ancestor and narrowing down the branches. They were searching for a male within a specific age range who would have been living in or near Sterling, Connecticut in 1983. The search led them down countless avenues, eliminating dozens of men. The work was slow, intricate, and often disheartening. But then, a name began to surface repeatedly within the family trees of multiple distant matches. A name that, when cross-referenced with local records from 1983, revealed a man who fit the profile. A male who would have been 24 at the time of Emily's murder and who had lived just 15 miles from Sterling. His name was Arthur Finch. Arthur Finch. He had no criminal record. He had never been a suspect. He was a pillar of his community, a retired school teacher, a grandfather. He presented an image of quiet respectability, a life entirely devoid of violence. It was almost too perfect, too jarring. The possibility that this man, who had lived a seemingly ordinary life, could be the monster from Emily's past, sent a shiver down Sergeant Jensen's spine. A surveillance operation was initiated. Detectives watched Arthur Finch's every move. Days turned into weeks. Then, a crucial opportunity arose. Arthur was seen leaving a local cafe, inadvertently dropping a used coffee cup into a public trash can. It was collected and rushed to the lab. The waiting was agonizing. When the results finally came back, the match was undeniable. It was him. The DNA from the coffee cup matched the DNA from Emily Thorne's crime scene. Sergeant Jensen stared at the report, relief warring with a profound sense of disbelief. After 40 years, Emily Thorne finally had a name for her killer. They had found him. The case was closed. Or so they thought. The arrest of Arthur Finch sent shockwaves through Sterling. His family, friends, and former students were stunned. How could this gentle, unassuming man be capable of such brutality? The evidence was overwhelming, and Arthur, faced with the irrefutable DNA, eventually confessed to Emily's murder. He described the chance encounter, the struggle, the terror. He even revealed details that only the killer could have known, finally giving Emily's parents the answers they had so desperately sought. But the confession, as horrifying as it was, contained a single, chilling detail that cracked open the entire case once more. A detail that suggested Emily Thorne was not Arthur Finch's only victim. A detail that would launch Sergeant Jensen into a terrifying new investigation, revealing a dark pattern of violence that had gone undetected for decades. As Arthur Finch sat in his jail cell, recounting the night he took Emily's life, he uttered a single, casual sentence about another mistake he'd made years earlier in a different town. And with those words, the echoes of crime from the silent pines of Sterling threatened to awaken a whole new chorus of untold horrors.